So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
All right, hey everybody. We are on air a little bit early today because we have such a great guest we couldn't wait to go on air, just so you know. So I want to welcome you to this episode of Bible News Radio. Whether or not you're watching live or you're watching the archive, I guarantee you that you're going to want to stay for this whole show. I'm not kidding you. I have had the honor and the blessing of having my guest, L.A. Marzulli, on my show. I don't know, a dozen, 12, 15 times, something, I don't know. Anyway, he's been on here a long time, for many years, all the way from the beginning of his Watchers series to today, where we're going to talk about the topic that, frankly, a lot of Christians don't want to talk about this stuff because they're like, ooh, no, do UFOs exist? No, they don't. Does Fatima exist? What was that? Yeah. Is this even in the Bible? And what is it with you and your fringy topics? So here's what I want you to do. If you're on Periscope, I want you to share this out right now. If you're over on our Facebook page, and I'm not sure if anybody's there yet, but oh yeah, I show there's somebody there. Do me a favor, Wanda, and yeah, thank you for sharing it out already. And feel free to leave comments during the show. I'm going to go ahead and try to monitor it. And if you're on our YouTube page, please forgive me, but I can't monitor 3 places at once. I can only, up here, only do 2. So just... But you can leave a comment. I'll look at it afterwards and respond to it. So I want to say hi to Mia and Marty. I know there's a couple of you in there, and I can't see who you are yet, but thank you guys for sharing this out. And do me a favor, if this is your first time hearing my guest, L.A. Marzulli, then put a 1. Oh, cool. The Love Lady Center in Atlanta liked our show that somebody just shared out. Thank you guys for sharing it out on Twitter. Appreciate it. All right, so what we're going to do for the next hour is we're going to learn from the Master Marzulli. He's also a doctor, you know. I actually got a chance to meet him last year in Oklahoma at the Prophecy Watchers Conference. This guy has made it, like, around the world. He gets thousands and thousands of people tuning into his show, and he's written books. Wait, here, hold on. Wait.
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
I'm short, okay? Just saying. But he's got a gazillion things. Like, these are just some of the stuff. We're not talking about it, but I just want to show you. This is the Watchers series. This is the whole set. I mean, there's, like, all this stuff in it. Like that, see? Because this guy is the enemy of ancient aliens. Well, I don't mean that in a mean way, but, you know. The TV show is like, hey, you know what? This is what we believe. And L.A. Marzulli is like, oh, yeah? Well, there's a different point of view. So, anyway, if you don't know who he is, in all seriousness, he's a great author. He's a researcher. He is actually a doctor. I don't know what his doctorate's in. Well, ask him. And he's been married for a long time to a lovely woman that I got to meet who does awesome stuff. She supports him. He's been on the trail of the Nephilim. He's written about Days of Chaos. Wait, hold on. There's the trail of the Nephilim. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that later next week with a different guest. And now he's talking about Fatima, or Fatima, depending on how you pronounce it. So it is my pleasure, for the first time since I met him in person last year, to welcome L.A. Marzulli to our show. So, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Somebody had to do it, so sorry, I couldn't resist. So you know what's really super cool is not only have I actually met you in person now, so you really do exist, but I think I mean I've known you forever. So when I actually met you in person, it wasn't like I was like meeting you for the first time, because you've been on my show for like, I don't know, 15 years or something.
It's been a while, and it was good. I was at the Prophecy Watchers Conference, and of course, shameless plug here, Prophecy Watchers will be holding another conference in October, and I'm pleased to say that I will be speaking at that conference. So
very cool.
Go to prophecywatchers.com and check it out. Sign up early, folks.
Yeah, we're actually hoping to go again. It's literally 3 days after my big 50 birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So I'm hoping to go down there and do that again, and see some of the people, because they have a super great lineup coming up. But you for sure are going to be one of your room's going to be packed out. So that's totally cool. So, and hi to the other people coming in too. Okay. So LA, I know I gave you a super great introduction, but for what kind of doctor are you actually? I don't.
Doctor of Divinity.
Ah, Doctor of Divinity.
Yes, thank you.
Now, is this an earned doctorate or an honorary one?
It's an honorary one from Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, who was my mentor, and I also received the very prestigious gold medallion from Chuck Missler.
Very cool.
Also a mentor to me. So those awards for me they mean a lot.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think they should. That's why I asked, because I was, if somebody gave me an honorary doctorate, I'd be like bragging about it, actually. I'd be like, no, you can't call me doctor. So that's very cool. So, yeah, you mentioned Chuck Missler a couple of days ago. He finally graduated. Not finally, but you know what I mean. And I can't even imagine what him and meeting the Lord was like. But I actually cried. I was so sad. I was sad.
I did too. Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. He's the one person that was on my wish list to interview I never got to interview. So I think it's super cool. But his teaching, seems you brought him up, his teaching on Genesis 6 and all the supernatural stuff is actually what changed my life and got me actually interested in what we refer to as the more, quote, so-called fringy topics of Scripture. And I have a lot of people who are in my audience, some who understand this topic because they've been with us for a long time, like you. But then we also have other people who are like, what the heck are you talking about, girlfriend? You've lost your mind. So that's part of the reason I'm glad you're on, because we're on 3 different platforms that we haven't been on for years and years, like we were on just doing iTunes and podcasting. Now we're actually doing video. People are watching this on YouTube and Facebook and Periscope. And so what I want you to do is give people a little bit about your background, because one of the first things I'm sure you've heard is the criticism that, oh, well, if you believe in this stuff, you're a heretic. And believe me, I know that you and others in this realm have actually been labeled that, and I just want you to clarify what you actually believe so that people know that you're actually not a heretic.
Well, I'll be 68 years old this December. I've been a Spirit-filled, born-again Christian for 38 years this June. Which was obviously life-changing for me. I'm a pastor. I'm a worship leader. I love the Lord. I think we're in a window of time where his second coming is imminent, especially when we look at what's going on in the Middle East. I'm a biblical literalist. I'm a frank supernaturalist. I believe that the supernatural is more real than the nose on my face. And I believe that the accounts that we read in the Bible, i.e., Jesus walking on water that's changed into wine, water that stands up as a heap and allows 3 million people to pass through. Speaking of Moses, of course, virgin births, floating axe heads, talking donkeys, all of that actually happened. It's not a bunch of people who were superstitious and didn't understand. And as Chuck Missler would say, 66 books, 40 authors, and now we see that's an integrated message system. Everything works together. And, I cut my teeth, my prophetic teeth on Chuck Missler. I mean, I did. That was the show that I listened to, that along with Noah Hutchings. Mm-hmm. That's what I listened to every single day, and got reared up that way. So I believe that Jesus was going to return literally on a white horse with the armies of heaven. That's not, I've been there, and I know that sounds strange to people. I was there basically 38 years ago, in the body or out of body, as Paul says. I was taken up into the heavenly realm for about 3 seconds. I had no idea what I was looking at because I was a brand new Christian. And I was riding on a white horse, and there was a myriad, an army of riders on white horses. There were no saddles. There were no reins. I was holding on to the horse's mane, and I was riding, and we were going down like this. And the armies of heaven were in a horseshoe, not spread out this way. It was a horseshoe shape like this. And the armies of heaven were stacked, one on top of another. And in the center of that horseshoe is the rider on the white horse. That's Jesus. And we're coming down like this. And I was there for 3 seconds, and I'll never forget it. In fact, when I when I talk about this at conferences, and sometimes when I read Revelation 19, I can't get through it. I'm bawling like a baby up there. It's so deep within me because it's a promise. That's the game changer. When the king comes back on the white horse with the armies of heaven, that's the game changer. It's over for 1,000 years. It's over. Finally, all the pedogate stuff, all the corruption stuff. Do you really think there's going to be porn sites in the kingdom? Do you really think there's going to be pedophiles running around in the millennial kingdom? I mean, people might try to do stuff, but it's not going to be there. We're going to have money laundering and crack houses and cocaine, being sold on the street to 10-year-olds and yada, yada, yada. It's not going to happen. The murder rate's going to basically disappear. And that's what we all long for, that 1,000 year, which is a literal millennial reign by Jesus, the Messiah.
Amen. All right. So as a good attorney would do, you put your credentials in the docs. Now people know a little bit about you. And I concur. I really do. And welcome to the new people that came in. Normally I would say hi to all of you by name, but I can't do that because I don't see all of your names. But hi to everybody on Periscope. Leanne, Tyke Rib is in the house over on Facebook. Thank you for coming. I hope Carl's watching with you. I also got to meet them too. Aren't they great? You know them. The Tyke Ribs.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Anyway, so this is super cool. Okay, so I actually referenced the show Ancient Aliens before because, some people might know the show Ancient Aliens. And I'm bringing this up for a reason because I actually refer to the History Channel as the Revisionist History Channel. But you actually have talked about Ancient Aliens for a long time, and that's part of the reason why you started your Watchers series, right?
Well, I was on the first 2 seasons of Ancient Aliens, and I was asked to go in the 3rd season. And the reason why I declined was because what I was saying was not holding their party line, and they started to manipulate what I was saying. And so we started, Richard Shaw and I, the director. Richard's the director and the co-producer of the Watchers series. I'm the host and the co-producer. And Richard and I started our own series called the Watchers series. There are now, I think, 11 of them. And there's also a bonus DVD called Anatomy of a Hoax, how we realized that the fairy was a hoax. And once we found that out, we made a free video and put it up on Vimeo so people could just watch it and see how we got there. We were all taken in by it. All of us were. Veterinarians, geneticists, I mean, everyone was taken in on it. And once we got it, then we were able to vet it, and that's when we created the film. But be that as it may, that's how we started the Watchers series. And look, I'm out in the field a lot. We last year we traveled to Portugal. We spent 2 weeks there, and that serves as the basis for the new film that we have about Fatima 2. Fatima 1 was released last year, and most people don't understand. Well, and I got this question and actually addressed it last night on my own show, Acceleration Radio. And the guy was going, LA, I don't understand why I should care about Fatima. And I showed a clip. I'll give you the end before the beginning, sort of the cart before the horse. I showed a clip which is 2 weeks old. A busload of people are in Massachusetts, and there's a spinning sun. There's a pulsating sun like this, okay? And it's on film, and everybody in the bus is just lapping it up. They're thanking, God and all this other stuff. Well, we don't know whether that's from God or not, just because the sun pulses. And we find when we go back into the ancient texts, and I'm not talking biblical texts, but ancient texts in Portugal, we find out that there was a group of women, goddesses, who had the ability to spin the sun. That was one of the things they could do, spin the sun. This is in ancient literature. So this one guy goes, well, LA, why should I care? Because 101 years ago, this October, something occurred in Fatima, which I call a harbinger of deception. And the backstory to this is there are 3 children. They're illiterate. They're shepherds. That's what they are. Mm-hmm. Lucia, who's 11, Francisco is 9, and then Jacinta is 7. So they're very, very young children, completely illiterate, can't read or write. They're out tending the sheep. And this is 1917. And you got to remember that when all this is going on, World War I is raging. The Bolsheviks are about to take over the former Russian Empire from the Tsar. And in the halls of England, the Balfour Declaration, which would later allow Israelis, or Israel to be born again, essentially, which is we're celebrating its 70th year now, just in a few days. All that was being bandied about. While this is going on, a group of psychics are meeting in Portugal. And through the technique, the occult technique, which, by the way, we're forbidden to use, of automatic writing, which is when you allow a spirit to enter into you and you begin, your hand moved by itself. We're forbidden to do that. But this is an occult technique, and it's still going on today. So these occultists are in a seance, they're inviting the spirits in, and through automatic writing from right to left, there's a message. And the message says something wonderful will happen on May 13th in Portugal, 1917. And it's signed Stella Matutina, the bright morning star, another name for the dragon or Lucifer. So sure enough, the psychics published this in O Século, the major newspaper in Portugal, stating that something wonderful is going to happen. Meanwhile, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta are tending sheep. On May 13, an entity appears to the children. In the film, we never talk about Mary. We never talk about who the entity was. And here's the caveat for people who believe in Fatima. We're not dissing anybody's belief system. And in fact, in the beginning of Fatima 1, I say that millions of people visit and make pilgrimage to the Fatima shrine every year. But then I go on and say millions of Muslims encircle the Kaaba stone. Millions of Hindus celebrate Guru Puja. Millions of Buddhists worship at thousands of temples all throughout Asia. We're not here to disparage anyone's belief system. People can believe what they want to believe. I'm a born-again, spirit-filled Christian. I believe that the Word, the Bible, tells us that in the latter days, in the end times, the dragon will come with all signs and lying wonders. I like to call him the dragon because Satan is used so often it loses its meaning. The dragon is a different deal. The dragon is a whole different deal. So as of late, I've taken to calling the fallen cherub, i.e. Satan, the dragon. It's one of his many names. So the dragon is going to come with all signs and lying wonders. We are admonished. We are warned of this in Scripture. Now let's get back to 1917. The entity never identifies herself with a name. She just says, I'm from the sky. When she communicates to the children, she only communicates voice to skull, telepathically. The mouth never moves. So I find huge problems with that. She also gives the children something to eat and something to drink. Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta all eat, but only Lucia and Jacinta drink. Francisco doesn't drink. So Francisco can see the entity, but can't hear her. So now we're down to two witnesses, Lucia and oh my gosh, my Jacinta. And my mind just went blank.
That's okay.
So yeah, so they're there, and the entity reminds them and tells them that at the 13th of every month she will return. They go back, they tell the family. Of course, the family doesn't believe it, and they go to the parish priest. The parish priest thinks it's utterly demonic. But the next month, there's a handful of people that are there to witness the so-called apparition. When the apparition comes, there's aerial phenomena that accompanies with it. People see flying hats, flying crosses, aerial phenomena. All sorts of weird things happen on the 13th of every month. So May, June, July, that's your dog, not mine.
It's mine.
In July, now the crowds are swelling to thousands of people. And people are wondering, what's really happening here? What's going on? The parish priest thinks it's demonic. This goes on for several more months until September. And the magistrate, the priest, the clergy, the mayor, they all go back and tell this entity, we need to see a sign. So Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta go back and say, the people need to see a sign. And the entity replies and said, come next month on October 13th, 1917, there will be a sign. This is when the story goes off the rails. And this is why I call it a harbinger of deception. The following month, on October 13th, 1917, there are upwards of 80,000 people assembled on the moors of Fatima. waiting for the sign. They have no idea what the sign's going to be. The entity never said what kind of a sign was going to be produced. 80,000 people were there in the field. And this is what happens. It's been raining all morning. People are drenched to the skin. There's a sea of umbrellas. As you can look out to the crowd, you can see a sea of umbrellas everywhere you look. In fact, I'm just going to show you something here from one of the photographs, which I'll, you really can't see it, but I'll. That helps a little bit, maybe. Anyway, the people are standing there, and they're drenched to the bone. Finally, the clouds part, and the sun shines. But then a cloud moves in front of the sun, and out of that cloud comes a shiny silver disc, a dull silver disc. I'm just using these props here. And it begins to spin, and then go like this, and then go back up, and it does this 3 times before it does a flyby, where this disc-like object flies over the crowd. So we get into this in Fatima 2. This is what the movie's about, Fatima 2. And I want to show you something, because the 70,000 or 80,000 people that were in the field had their entire paradigms shattered. First of all, most people had never seen any type of aerial phenomenon at all. No airplanes, blimps, dirigibles. 1917, there were essentially 0 planes in Portugal, maybe 1 or 2 in Lisbon, maybe. The majority, the vast majority of people had never seen any type of aerial phenomena. So we've got witnesses who were lawyers and doctors that came on the record in 1917, handwritten testimonies from Father Fiera, handwritten testimonies in their own words, right? Saying that I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. The word silver disc is used over and over and over again by the witnesses in the field. This and the so-called spinning sun is a harbinger of deception. And what people don't get, that the sun, the so-called sun miracles, and we show this graphically at the end of Fatima 2. I assembled a composite of different YouTube videos from all over the world. Knock, Ireland, 2017. Apparition in Zaytun, Egypt. Over a Coptic church in Egypt. I mean, these apparition sites and sun miracles in Nigeria. And you hear the people, they're moaning, they're hysterical, and they're witnessing something supernatural. We're not saying it's not supernatural. Something is going on here, but what is it? No one's rebuking first and asking questions later. Nobody is testing the spirits and finding out what's going on. People are just overcome by what they're seeing, rightfully so. So Fatima 1 and Fatima 2, and then, of course, this book that we have by Jose Machado, Miracle of the Sun, is groundbreaking investigative reporting based on all of our exhaustive research that we spent in Portugal and before and after.
Ah, you want to take a drink now, don't you? Okay, so that's good. I want to let you know that, the whole time you were talking, we had some people come in and they were like, being scoffers and mockers and stuff over on Periscope. But yeah, see, so everybody, just so you know, this is historical, okay? I mean, this is, what LA just shared was completely a historical event. You can look it up in the newspaper. In fact, I was going to ask you, if first of all, the name of your DVD is called what? Fatima, Miracle of the Sun, or Harbinger of Deception?
Yes, and the second, Fatima 2, is called Strange Phenomena. Okay,
and so those of you who don't know what the word harbinger means, it means like a sign, right? A sign of deception. Because here's the thing, and maybe we can get into this in a second after we keep talking about this, but people don't understand, like, one of the things you've taught me personally is that the Bible is, you call it the guidebook to the supernatural.
Right.
Christians, with the exception of, let's say, the Pentecostal movement, for the most part, by and large, don't believe in miracles and stuff. I mean, it's in there, right? We believe all these things that took place, but it's not like we're walking in the miracles and stuff. So the language you were just using a minute ago, talking about nobody was rebuking and all that other stuff, unless you're a Christian who understands that that's a reference to spiritual warfare, most people aren't even taught that in the church.
That's
so
true.
The topic of, UFOs, this is where I'm trying to educate our audience, because biblically, I mean, you and I believe the same thing. I think that the rapture is going to take place. The world is going to give some type of explanation as to why Christians all of a sudden disappeared. I believe that they're going to blame it on UFOs. And so that's part of the reason why this is important for people to understand, that these deceptions, these things that are happening in the spiritual realm that are actually confusing people and stuff, and the world of sci-fi and all of this info that we get in the media that's really programming people, there's a reason behind it. It's not like they just accidentally come up with this stuff. Like the TV show Ancient Aliens, it didn't just happen. Somebody thought of it. They wanted to talk about it. They want to talk about how humanity got here, right? Their idea of how we got here is way different than how I got here. You know, according to the Bible, this is how I got here. And so I want you to elaborate a little bit on that, because there are really some people who really have no clue. I mean, they don't. They'll look at this stuff. The world, you know, will be involved in psychics and stuff like that, and they'll believe stuff like this, and they're fascinating with it. But the church is like, you know. Although I think the church is starting to wake up, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, look, I'm invited to churches all the time, and you know, churches. There are some pastors who are waking up, and we'll talk about this. People need to understand that there are, unless we understand. Let me back up.
Okay.
And I've been saying this pretty much at every conference. Nobody has any idea of what this is and where we are. If the United States of America is analogous to the universe, are we in Tampa, Duluth, Walla Walla, Dallas, Los Angeles? We have no idea where we are in regard to the universe. We have no clue.
Right.
No clue. None. And
right.
no one else has any idea. We also have no idea what we are, where we are, who we are. What I mean by that, we're in these little biological bodysuits. Where does consciousness seat itself? No one has a clue. No one knows. You know, you can dissect the brain. There's no little figure in there. So where is Stacy Harp residing right now? You're in your biological bodysuit, but where are you really? Where does L.A. Marzulli reside? How is it that what is language? How does language process when we speak and it moves through the airwaves? I mean, we are in this like incredible holodeck, for lack of a better word, called planet Earth and called life. And that's a gift from God Almighty. But this shell eventually will start to break down sooner than later, right. And we'll pass from this. But our spirits are indestructible. The spirit that makes you, and the spirit that makes me, these are in us, and they'll just move on. And of course, for both of us that are born again and spirit filled, along with Randall, we're going to go back to the source. We're going to go back to Father, and hopefully we'll hear the words, well done, my good and faithful servant. With that in mind, Darwinism has held the academic and the scientific community hostage for almost 200 years now. We're getting up on the 200-year anniversary of this thing. And it's a theory. It's never been proven. Right. No one has any idea how Darwinism could work. Well, billions of years, that's convenient. But Darwinism did not know, Charlie Darwin did not know about DNA and how everything on this planet has DNA in it, which when they reproduce, it reproduces of its own kind, which is exactly what the Bible says. Chimpanzees will always reproduce chimpanzees. They're not, unlike the ridiculous, Planet of the Apes movies and everything else, they're not learning how to talk anytime soon. They might be intelligent, just like dolphins, just like my dog. I mean, there's intelligence there. I mean, I get it. A squirrel has intelligence, for crying out loud. I'm not knocking that. But they're not human beings. And when squirrels reproduce, they reproduce squirrels. They don't, a dolphin doesn't start flapping up in the squirrel nest. Doesn't work that way. Penguins beget penguins, not humpback whales. And so everything reproduces to its kind. The neo-Darwinists are aware of this. And so the neo-Darwinists say, well, maybe it happened something like this. We were seeded here by a race of highly advanced extraterrestrials maybe, thousands, millions of years ago, whatever. And they seeded us here. They started the world's earliest civilizations. They started the world's religions. And now at this critical juncture in human history, welcome to the days of chaos. Just look what's about to happen in the Middle East. I'm not a prophet, but I predict war within the next 20 days, full-blown war in the next 20 days. I'm not a prophet. Just look at the signs. And if not, hallelujah, I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I hope I am wrong, folks. But the bottom line is that the neo-Darwinists are looking to panspermia, to some race of highly evolved extraterrestrials that created life. That's their answer, because they don't know either. As Christians, we believe the God of the Bible spoke everything into existence. Jesus, it says in John that in the beginning was the Word. That's Yeshua. That's Jesus. He was with God in the beginning. Okay? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. He was God. And all things were created through him, by him. And without him, everything that was made was not made. I mean, he creates everything, including us. That's profound. So with that in mind, the so-called extraterrestrial presence has been disclosed. And I bet you that 90% of your listeners have no idea what I'm talking about. But disclosure, real disclosure, happened on Fox News, Tucker Carlson's show. You can Google it afterwards and see it for yourself, in December.
I'll put a link out.
Tucker Carlson had an ex-Air Force pilot, F-18 fly guy, named Fravor, okay, Commander Fravor. And Fravor's on there, and while he's being interviewed from Tucker, they're playing what was declassified film of a UFO that Fravor actually took. So here's Fravor yakking to Tucker Carlson, and while he's talking, here's the actual footage. It begs the question, how does someone like Fravor get on prime time, Tucker Carlson, Fox News, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, right, on the East Coast, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, prime time, all right? How does he get on there with classified film? It's declassified, but it was classified. How does that happen? Fravor's a nobody. What I mean by that, with all due respect, he's not selling a book. Right. He's not on tour. Nobody's ever heard of this guy. He's tried it out. That is a managed, as Chuck Missler would say, it is a managed agenda, and it's disclosure. And they had it. And the guy, Fravor, the pilot, said right on the air, when Tucker Carlson said, what do you think this was? Fravor looked right at the camera and said, whatever it was not from this world. It was not of this world. So that's disclosure. Here's the real UFO footage that they're showing on Fox. Here's the commander that took the footage. It's all legit. It's not on like Coast to Coast, with all due respect to George, and I'm on that show 2 or 3 times a year. But that's the tinfoil hat brigade, and of course I've got mine always close at hand, just in case I need to wear it. So it's not that. It's Tucker Carlson. And in fact, what Tucker Carlson did, and I really thanked him for this on the air. He said all this was relegated to the tinfoil hat brigade. Thank God for George Norrie and Art Bell before him that had the courage to talk about what was going on and give people like me a platform to do it. Hats off to George Norrie and Coast to Coast, and of course Art Bell, who passed away just a short while ago. So Ancient Aliens, every Friday night for 8 years running, maybe longer, I don't know. Maybe it's 9 years now. I've lost count. They promulgate the idea that extraterrestrials visited us millennia ago and did things here. And you know what? They're right. I agree with them. Extraterrestrials did visit here. But let's define the terms. An extraterrestrial is an entity which does not originate from planet Earth. Okay, we all agree on that. Now, I can just take one little step and go like this. I call them nefarious interdimensional entities. It's another name for fallen angels. Nefarious interdimensional entities. If I say fallen angel, a lot of people just go click, they'll turn the channel. But if I say nefarious interdimensional entities, which is exactly the same thing, that's what a fallen angel is, they're all ears. It's just how we couch it. When you take it out of the realm of churchianity, and that's why I call him the dragon instead of Satan, because it's been so overused, people laugh at it. The dragon, and they're not cracking a smile when you talk about the dragon. Nefarious interdimensional entity. That's what's visiting this planet. That's what has done all sorts of stuff. And for those of you who don't think that angels, fallen angels, can mate with human beings, go back to Genesis 3:15 and read this, where Jesus is in the garden, and I believe it's Jesus, the pre-incarnate Christ. And the dragon's over here, the serpent's over here, Adam and Eve's over here. And Yeshua says to the serpent, your seed, the serpent, your seed will be at war and enmity with the seed of the woman. We know that the seed of the woman becomes Messiah thousands of years later. But the seed of the serpent, see, we don't, if we don't understand the seed of a serpent, then when we get to Genesis 6, 3 chapters later, we have no idea who the Nephilim are.
Right.
When we get to what's happening at the Tower of Babel, we have no idea what's going on. When we go to Sodom and Gomorrah, and it seems like this wrathful God of the Old Testament, we have no idea what's going on. Why is he destroying Sodom and Gomorrah? Read Jude, because they went after strange flesh. What's that strange flesh? Read Daniel. Their seed, whose seed, will mingle with the seed of men. Wait a minute. What is he talking about? But they will not cleave to them. It's all there screaming at us through Scripture. And then when finally the Israelites arrive in the Promised Land, thousands of years after the garden experience, after Noah and the flood, after Tower of Babel, after Sodom and Gomorrah, there's a little key phrase when Jesus is talking to Abraham, and he goes, you're going to become a great nation. You're going to go down to Egypt. Things are going to be good for a while, but you're going to be enslaved 400 years. Not a good thing. And he goes, until the sin of the Amorites comes into its fullness. What is the sin of the Amorites? All this is right in Scripture. It's right under our noses, but we're not taught. The sin of the Amorites, Nephilim. That's what they were. They were half fallen angel, half humans. They were a hybrid entity that was never supposed to exist on this planet. Here's something else. And you know this is true for those of you who are listening. When Joshua and Caleb are given the mandate to go into the Promised Land and slaughter men, women, children, animals, and burn everything, that, my friends, is genocidal. That's maniacal. That's insanity. Insanity. Unless what is dwelling in the so-called Promised Land in the Levant are, in fact, nefarious hybrid entities which are soulless and are never supposed to be there. They are against God's creation. They are in a fixed state. These are the Nephilim, the Raphaim, the Zanzumim, the Emim, the Anakim, all different names of these Nephilim tribes that permeated the entire area. And unless we understand Genesis 3:15, the seed war, when we go through Scripture, we're clueless. And finally, in Matthew 24, when Jesus tells us it'll be like the days of Noah when I return, well, what does that mean? This is why Genesis 3:15 is paramount in our biblical understanding. Without a good, firm exegesis, a good understanding, a good interpretation of that Scripture, we are clueless, in my opinion, to the rest of the Bible, and we don't understand really what's going on.
That's right. And you know, it's interesting too. We're going to have to take a break here just a second, but what, you know, I appreciate you laying all that out, because now everybody knows that I'm not nuts, because I've shared pretty much that same thing. But you know, what's sad is that people don't talk about it because the pastors don't teach it. And you know, some people are saying, you know, the critics will say, well, you guys are just making all this up to sell books and stuff. Yeah. But if you actually go back through church history and actually look hundreds of years ago, they actually understood this stuff. I mean, our sponsor is Ariel Ministries. Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum, who's a Messianic Jewish believer, he holds this view. I mean, out of Genesis 6, he believes it. So, I mean, it's kind of like that. And by the way, I want to say hi to Carl Tykrib that just came in from Canada. Carl. And Jonah Lim, who is my friend over in the Philippines, met many years ago at a different church. Very cool. And all you guys out here in Periscope, thank you guys for coming in. Melanie and Mia, all Joel's here. A whole bunch of people are here, just so you can see LA. There's lots of people here. You can't see because my hand's in the way, but give him some hearts, you guys. Go ahead, tap the screen so you can see that you're there. Yeah, those are the people. There's more people watching. It's just that there's actually people I'm not following. The people that I'm following I can see, but there's a full room there on Periscope, and we got 5 people or more on Facebook, which is there. You see the hearts though? They're there. They're watching you. All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and thank our sponsor, and then we'll go ahead and we will. I want you to pick up about about the photography that took place during that incident in Fatima. Get back to the main thing here that you want to talk about. But we want to thank Ariel Ministries. Those of you who have watched the show all the time, you guys know that you can save 20% on anything when you use the coupon code Bible News. And actually, this month we're looking at eschatology, the doctrine of the last days, as the products that we watch and look at. I mean, hello, we're in the last days, so what better teaching to get than on that from Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum? Did I give you the graphic?
No, you did not.
I actually did. I think you missed it. The PDF is in your thingy, but whatever. Anyway.
I've got the PDF for the giving.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, anyway, okay, so we'll get that to Randall again. But that is the thing that you can check out. You can check out anything, actually. But we want you to download also the free Bible study, which is on giving. And you guys, if you go to the resources page over at BibleNewsRadio.com, you can click that link down there. It will download automatically. It's like, I don't know, 20-something pages long. 25 pages long. It's really good. And don't forget, you can also get the stuff from Model Balston, who is a Messianic Bible teacher as well, former rabbi. Really, really good stuff. Stuff that you need to understand in order to understand the Bible in the context in which it's written. And I'm just going to say this. There's a lot of people on Periscope. Most of them don't know what the heck they're talking about biblically. I'm just going to say it. They're not providing you with God's word. They're providing you with their vain thoughts and imaginations. They're telling you things that aren't biblical to make you feel good. I'm here as an outlier, I guess, to say, kind of on the out fringe here, to give you actual biblical resources to look at. And so I want you guys to do that. Also, when you're on my website, don't forget also to download the mobile app Bullhorn. You can click through right there on the page. And I actually heard from the developer today. They were telling me that some super good, really exciting things are going to be happening this summer. So that's like next month, okay? Just so you know. May, June. I mean, we're in May, right? So June's next month. But so they're working hardly on the app here. And they developed this app for people who want to connect. I mean, that's generally what it is. Activists, prayer leaders, people who are heads of sales teams and business, people who are in the media, whatever your group is, you can get together on Bullhorn. The company behind this app is freeconferencecall.com. They're a Christian company, owned and operated, and they have made me their brand ambassador. So join me. Actually, I do a Bible study on it every morning. I'm currently in 2 Timothy chapter 2. We go through a couple of verses every day. And, the Bible talks about mentoring and discipling one another. That's what I'm doing on that app over there. So if you want to be part of that, like Melanie and Dottie and Mia and a whole bunch of other, you guys are out there watching and stuff, then join us on the app. Support our sponsor, okay? Also, if you want to actually support us directly, and, if you don't want something from one of our sponsors, then become a pillar of our community. I do a lot of work, you guys, and this is a labor of love. Right now, I'm sitting in probably a 90-degree room because we're getting a new air conditioner tomorrow, which is going to cost us lots of money, and we could use it. So if you want to support us with a donation every month, go over there, commit to donating every month to BibleNewsRadio.com/give. You can set up a recurring payment through PayPal or your credit card. It doesn't matter. Either way is good. And then we'll put you into our Facebook group for our pillars of the community, which is what we call you because you are. And don't forget, you guys can join my email list as well at BibleNewsRadio.com. That's where I recap the show. I give you some news items of the day. And then we let you, we keep you in the loop. And I love doing that, actually. And don't forget, I am currently in the process of writing my book called Pickleball Faith. It's actually turning out to be not quite what I expected, but I think you guys will really appreciate it once you get it. It's really a book about relationships, actually. But I want you guys to consider getting that too, as well as a devotional I'm currently writing as well. So just stay in the loop on my email list. You'll get all that info first. All right, so L.A. Marzulli is our guest. He's currently not in the box. Ah, there he is. Hello, he's back. Okay, so he's back. Anyway, he's our guest today. You guys should go over to his website, lamarzulli.net. Go there. You can learn all about who he is, his show. He's got all these shows. He does video shows. He teamed up with Bill Salas, who's also been on our show a gazillion times. What's it called? What's your show with Bill called again?
Marsalis. The Marsalis Report.
How often is that on? That was new to me.
We posted one yesterday because of what was going on in the Middle East.
Okay.
Once a week, once every 2 weeks. It's just when we have something to talk about, we come on.
Okay. So I do.
Randall, if you could show that special again, maybe not now, but we are running a special, which is a great deal. For Fatima 1, Fatima 2, the book, and plus a bonus DVD. It's like a $60 offer for $39. So it's there she goes. Fatima 1, Fatima 2, the book Miracle of a Son, and of course it's a lecture, the bonus DVD from Prophecy Watchers last year.
Yeah, and I got to tell you guys, I have most of LA's stuff because, we've talked about most of it on our show. The quality of his work has gone up. I mean, way. When he didn't have any money, he still produced stuff, and then now he's making a little bit of money. By the way, I want you to tell everybody what happened on YouTube. Have they reinstated you yet?
Oh no, we've been reinstated, but we've never had a strike. But what they have done is they've gone and demonetized pretty much everything that we do. So we have 2 sponsors. One is Jingos, and it's a great chemical. It's an enzyme actually, and it's for odors. And here I'm doing the commercial.
It's okay.
Jingos.com, buyjingos.com, and it's just great stuff. And the testimonials are amazing. We use it around the house all the time. We have 2 dogs. One of the dogs, might have an accident, whatever. Little Jingos on the carpet takes the stain out, takes the smell out. Stuff's amazing. And we just signed up with another sponsor, Simply Clean Foods, and these are all freeze-dried foods, and they're delicious. In fact, I was munching on strawberries at the break here, freeze-dried strawberries. And that's why what we're able to do is just forget about YouTube and monetizing the ads, and the sponsors are what's carrying us through. Sometimes YouTube will allow me to monetize something, but basically anyone that's a conservative Christian, and I'm painting with a broad brush here, boom, we get demonetized all the time. There is a war against people like me and you and many of our listeners out there. There is a war. In fact, this Met Gala thing where they just completely trash Christianity. All these stars, Katy Perry's dressed up as an angel, and on it goes. The Illuminati, the deep state, the Satan worshipers, the occultists, the pedophile rings, they don't care anymore. I mean, it's in your face. What was it? A few years ago, they did a live exorcism on stage when Katy Perry was singing, and only one person got up and left the room. She was a Christian. She knew what she was singing.
Yeah.
Everyone else, year after, they're all singing Highway to Hell. They all have little devil horns on, little devil horn hats on that are lighting up, and they're all singing AC/DC song, We're on the Highway to Hell. You guys are. By your own choice, by the way. Thank you very much.
You saw the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right? With the filthy woman that gave the
unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
That was unbelievable. And yet, you know what?
Really
we talked about it on our show. And I have to tell you, I was thoroughly, I mean, I'm almost 50. I've been around for a couple of years. Not as long as you, though. Just saying. No. Anyway, I never would have thought in a gazillion years that type of filth would have came out on something like that. And,
think about this. This is the elite, supposedly.
Yeah, right.
This is the elite of our society coming together once a year. And the vitriol, the trash, the filth coming out of this woman's mouth. Look, I've heard it all. I lived there, okay, before I was 30. I have a past. I talk about it. I was a drug-taking, fornicating, guru worshiping, occult practicing pagan. I get it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not holier than anybody. Okay. I mean, I know who I am. I know the depths of my own depravity. All right. But when you become born again, when we become born again and spirit filled, everything changes. I mean, it's another indication, another sign how late the hour really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we could go on to other topics I'm interested in. But I think we want to get back to your Fatima thing, and we want to respect your time. So tell me how much time you want to have left. Usually we end up...
Let's do about 10 minutes and wrap it up with the Fatima 2 and talk about the offer. But I really want to talk about the photographer and what we discovered and what we show in the film.
Yeah, this is good. And remember, this is like 100 years ago. I mean, geez, that's a long time ago. Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I've always wondered where there were photographs of the so-called miracle of the sun. You remember this disc-like object comes out of the cloud, spins, comes to Earth. There's other strange phenomena that happens when this occurs. The hoods of automobiles fly open. The windows of automobiles are shattered. The cars won't work anymore. Gasoline spontaneously combusts. People, when the flyby happens, when this object comes over them, they have like radiation burns, like bad sunburn on their exposed skin. Their clothes are instantly dry. Something really weird's going on, and people were absolutely panicking, according to many of the witnesses. People were absolutely panicking at what they were seeing. So I've often wondered whether there was a photographer in the field that day. Well, years ago, I called a place up in Canada called the Fatima Crusader, and I said, do you guys have pictures of the miracle of the sun? And the woman, very nice lady, said, yes, we do, and I'll get them for you. Give me a week or two. So I called back a week or two later, and she said, you know, Mr. Marzulli, it's really strange, but we don't have any pictures of the miracle of the sun. It's not there. So for 15, 20 years, I've often wondered, was there a photographer in the field? What happened to the photographs? What we discovered, and this is the work we published, this man's book. His name is Jose Machado. Okay. And you can see the little camera. This is the type of camera that was used to take the pictures at Fatima. And these holding, Jose is actually holding right here a glass plate. And in that glass plate, you can see an object. And Jose Machado is a professor of semiotics at a university in Portugal. And as a professor of semiotics, they teach the interpretation and they teach about photographs and film. That's what he does. So he had access to the actual sanctuary at Fatima, where these glass plates are kept. Okay? And he examined them. And out of the 12 pictures that Joshua Benolio, who was the photographer on the Moors of Fatima 101 years ago, this October, 4 out of the 12 have problems. And what he means by that, there are objects in the glass plate which are not smudges, they're not chemical burns, they are objects intrinsic. They are in the glass plate negative. Those objects are there. They are there for people to see it. I'm going to hold this up so you can actually, it's too much of a glare. Right underneath the H. Right. It's so hard to see it here. There it is. There's a round circular object, and what's telling about this, and it's all in the film, but the photograph shows smoke coming up on the right-hand side of the picture, coming up in a column, making a right-angle turn, and this, let's say this is the apparition site, the tree where the entity was appearing, the children are beneath it, the object is right over it like this.
Yeah.
Right over like this. So that circular object, in my opinion, is a smoking gun. And the book, Miracle of the Sun, Jose's book, we're publishing it along with Fatima 2. And if Randall will show the special that we have going, because people go, well, why is this important? Here's the Fatima 2 special. Fatima 1, Fatima 2, Miracle of the Sun, and a bonus DVD. So if you were to buy all that separately, it'd be $60. We're selling it for $39.99. Why do you need to get this? Because at the end of Fatima 2, and I don't have time to roll the film, and it's actually on my YouTube channel, Acceleration Radio. It will be posted sometime today. It's also on last week's show, which I showed this clip that I compiled. What you'll see are so-called sun miracles and apparitions happening right now in modernity, including one a couple of weeks ago in Massachusetts. people are being duped by the supernatural.
Right.
And what appeared at Fatima, with all due respect, and in my opinion, but this is after exhaustive research on my and producing 2 films and also writing the foreword for Jose's book, and also looking at the photograph from. No one's seen this photograph, folks. It's never been released before. It was released a little bit in Portugal, but they basically put the kibosh on it, and I won't get into that. So no one's seen it. We've got it, and we're showing it to people. What appeared was a harbinger, in my opinion, was a harbinger of deception, and the strange phenomena that accompanied it, the burns on people's skin, the glass windows of automobiles shattering, windshields or hoods of automobiles flying open, gasoline spontaneously combusting, cars not starting, the hysteria of the crowd, the witness testimonies saying, I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. All of this is presented in Fatima 1 and Fatima 2, and it's all the information is drawn from the original 1917 handwritten records by the parish priest, Father Fiera. So that's what we're drawing the information from, not a decade later, 2 decades later, 3 or 4 decades later.
Yeah.
Right here. What did the witnesses who were in the field, what did they see? And that's what we report.
And that's why I like your stuff, because not only have you covered, this particular topic, but you've actually gone, on the trail of the Nephilim, and you've uncovered other things too. I mean, like at Catalina Island and other places where you've gotten in and you've gotten to do this stuff, and a lot of people, they don't either care, or they're just so like, oh, I'm going to believe what the Revisionist History Channel says or whatever, and so you guys, as you know, I don't promote people that I don't believe are biblical. I love LA. Yeah, I do. I love New York too, but I love LA. Sorry, couldn't resist. Hey, his first name is Lynn, like my middle name.
Oh, you had to give it away.
There's just, everybody knows it. Anyway, hey, and just so you know, this guy is internationally known. I mean, he's like a bigwig in the world of this stuff. So
just a servant of the Most High, and when the King returns, I'll become a potato farmer. It's fine with me.
Whatever. Okay, so what are you working on next, though? I see. What further studies are you planning to undertake on Fatima, or if anything?
Fatima's done, but we're working on another film, which will be released in November. Got a lot of footage already. I can't even tell you the name of it right now or what it's about. It's just keeping it well under wraps. But I will say this. We are going to sort of tackle a little bit the Darwinian paradigm. We're going to kind of circle back and hit the Darwinists, because this is the biggest bunch of hooey that's ever been perpetrated on the American public and the people of the world. But it's the prevailing paradigm in academia and the scientific community.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. So I sent you this article a couple of days ago about this guy who's claiming that he's traveled through time. What did you think of that? I'm just curious, because I actually discussed this on our show. I'm curious what you thought.
Well, there's a bunch of these guys. I mean, I've talked to Andrew Basaggio years ago on the phone, had an hour conversation with him, who did all that, allegedly did all that. And
I've never heard of him.
Possible? Yeah, I mean, anything's possible in God's universe. God is outside of space and time. So if we were to go to where heaven is, we would be outside the space-time continuum.
Right.
So the fact that this guy is traveling through time is always makes for great radio and gives us something to think about. Whether or not he's doing it or not, or has done it, there's no way to vet it.
Right. Well, I just thought it was weird. He was coming from 2038. I mean, why not come from a different time period?
Exactly.
And then he lost his job because they messed up something. Yeah, they did. Anyway, okay, go ahead. Give everybody your website again with your special, and we'll wrap this up.
It is lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net, and if Randall will show the special one more time. Folks, we make these films, and people, oh, you're making millions of dollars. How about we're keeping the lights on and trying to pay our taxes? Fatima 1, Fatima 2, The Miracle of a Son, Jose's groundbreaking. It's a small little book packed with information. And of course, the bonus DVD, my talk at Prophecy Watchers last year on Fatima. Arm yourself for not only what is about to happen, but what is happening. Come to an understanding of the times that we're living in. And I guarantee you, when you see this, Fatima 1, Fatima 2, and read Jose's book, your eyes will be open. You'll realize that this was a harbinger of deception. And what it will arm you is if you see a spinning sun, you'll know what to do. Rebuke first, ask questions later. Test the spirits. Just because we see something supernatural doesn't mean it originates from the God of the Bible.
Right. It originates from the Lord of the Flies. Who needs to be smacked out?
That's a good name for him, a Lord of the Flies.
Well, that's the one I use. I know you use the dragon, but
Lord of the Flies.
But yeah, because flies are pesky. Yeah, they are. All right, LA. Well, thank you for being our guest.
You guys.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, everybody, just because it's like super hot here. I'm totally sweating. So tomorrow, let me remind you, tomorrow my guest is Doug Hershey. He has written a book called Israel Rising. If you follow me over on my Instagram page, then you can get a sneak peek of that book, because Israel Rising is actually, it's a very nice book. It's a pictorial book, and it really shows pictures from many years ago of Israel, of the land of Israel, now to how it is today. And what's interesting is he's going to be talking to us about, he was already on Prophecy Watchers with Gary Stearman, if you want to watch an interview that he did over there. But I can guarantee you, just looking at this book last night, because I just got it yesterday, it's a book you're going to want to get. So I hope you join me tomorrow at the same time, 4 o'clock. We start a little bit early because LA wanted to start early, so we defer to him because he's so special. Anyway, so we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Remember, everybody, be bold, stand up, go with God, join my email list, donate to the show. And, if this interests you, what we just talked about, go get LA stuff and support what he does. All right? I'll see you later.